It's extremely intriguing that MJF just came clean about this, and I'm going to tell you precisely what he said in this video. To be honest, given the context of his remarks, I'm a little concerned. MJF is a significant player in the pro wrestling business, not just in the AEW but also outside of it. Regardless of your feelings toward the organization, whether or not he is the AEW World Heavyweight Champion, he is one of the greatest names in the organization and, in some ways, its biggest celebrity. Even though he may not be the most well-known figure in the pro wrestling world, everyone is aware of him and has heard what he has to say. He is the epitome of what a 2024 heel ought to be: loud and proud. That is merely a fact. He's everything that a 2019 or 2020 heel ought to have been. He demonstrated for them what, how, and when to do things. He's also capable of turning around and playing the babyface in the past. We saw it with Adam Cole, which is amusing when you think that Tony Khan and AEW kind of took an organic babyface turn without really preparing for it, but they went with it. Just consider this: MJF and Adam Cole were real competitors for the AEW World title, but their feud worked so well that MJF was eventually turned into MJF as a result of the fan base's enthusiasm for that plot. Sadly, after Adam Cole was hurt, things went completely wrong, which was awful. Ultimately, though, you have to consider what MJF represents and contributes to AEW. Consider this: I'll tell you why MJF left AEW for a period of time. Thus, to put it this way, after being gone for several months, he made his comeback at Double or Nothing, where he took on Adam Cole. He said in a commercial that he had returned to his previous form and that AEW had signed him to a new contract, which was a major win for them. This came after MJF competed at the AEW World's End pay-per-view in December despite having a hip injury and a damaged labrum. After losing the world title against Samoa Joe, he decided to take a break. He has worked a few matches since making his comeback at Double or Nothing, winning one at Forbidden Door, and most famously, defeating Will Ospreay to capture the international title on a recent episode of AEW Dynamite. They are scheduled to make a comeback at All In, a game I am eagerly anticipating. He has also recently and will continue to work in Mexico. This is where the worrisome remarks originate. As you recall, there was a time when MJF was unsure whether or not he would receive surgery to treat his injuries. I am aware that he was attempting to manage it through rehabilitation in order to avoid needing surgery. According to what the physicians told him, the plan was to miss a year of work following surgery. However, you could attempt rehabilitation. It will be uncomfortable, but you will be able to return. There was a rumor that he had surgery once, but that was obviously untrue. As soon as he came back, everyone said, "Oh, okay, well, he's back." Now, in an interview with Jack King of Cultaholic, the leading AEW star disclosed that he's still not quite 100%. What he said was this: "I'm still not 100%. I'll tell you straight, here's a little clickbait for you. Even though I've recovered from my injury, I don't know whether you noticed, but the show was a bag of, well, you get the idea. That's why I had to return. As a result, I returned a little earlier than I probably ought to have. Funny thing is, even at 80%, I can still defeat Rush and all these other guys." Yes, that is 80% of him. Look, I'm not fond of the hasty return he made. I realize now that this is the professional wrestling business. I recognize that these guys are not the same as you and me. I know these guys adore this, so they want to return as soon as possible. They have a pro wrestling addiction. They adore the cash, don't they? Similar to the thrill of adrenaline. I understand everything. However, I believe that in 2024, particularly with a man like MJF, you have to turn to him and say, "Hey, I'm grateful that you wish to return. You are sorely needed by us. We are currently in the year of the media rights renewal contract. The Warner Brothers Discovery TV rights agreement expires at the end of 2024. They're attempting to close a transaction. They're aiming for long-term security in addition to a large sum of money. They want a longer-term agreement than 2 or 3 years, correct? I want a 5-year contract if I'm AEW. But you also need to consider the bigger picture. This is one of your highest-paid contract people, if not the highest-paid one. The same individual is the company's top pull for merchandise, social media, TV ratings, and pay-per-view purchases. He moves numbers when he is included, when he is displayed, and when he is highlighted. It is objective rather than subjective. It is a statement of fact. Whatever the metric, MJF leads the pack in Google Trends and YouTube search trends. It's a simple truth of life, that's all. Thus, if you were Tony Khan and AEW, you would be thinking, yeah, we definitely need to close this TV deal. It's true that business is slow. It's true that TV viewership is declining. But would you rather try to book him in a situation where you could hurt the longevity of his career, potentially losing him right now due to a nagging injury that gets worse, or waste time on MJF's career, a career in which you have signed him to a long-term deal and are going to use him for years and years to come in a high-profile way? Or are you going to say, hey, come on TV, cut promos, tell people you're still injured but still cut promos, at least be on the show instead of wrestling? Here's another thing. Why in the world are you traveling to Mexico to work if he is so injured and not fully recovered? Why are you traveling to Mexico to work for these programs? Unless this is just a worked interview, which with MJF, you never know. And this may very well be the case, not because of the money. I take it you're just doing this out of habit? It's something you enjoy doing, wrestling. That doesn't sit well with me. Assuming the role of Tony Khan, I would sit him down and demand, look, tell me the truth. Really, are you just 80%? If so, we're going to restrict your access to TV matches and you won't be able to work in Mexico. When it comes to your in-ring prowess and work, we're just going to do major matchups and kind of put you on the outside. Since something needs to be done in this situation if that is the case. Am I right? Based on the facts, he is their biggest star. You can't have one of your greatest names, if not the biggest name in your entire organization, working matches in Mexico. In my opinion, I apologize, but that isn't a feasible choice. However, that is just my opinion. Tell me in the comments below. It's extremely intriguing that MJF just came clean about this, and I'm going to tell you precisely what he said in this video. To be honest, given the context of his remarks, I'm a little concerned. MJF is a significant player in the pro wrestling